Welcome to Wisdom Matrix 1111. Today we're diving into one of the most influential books on personal development and new thought philosophy, The Master Key System by Charles F. Haanel. Charles F. Haanel, 1866 to 1949, was an American businessman, author, and philosopher who devoted many years to studying the relationship between thought, human potential, and achievement. Before publishing The Master Key System, he built a successful career in business while developing the ideas that would later become his most influential work. The book went on to inspire generations of people and is widely regarded as one of the foundational works of the New Thought movement, influencing many later authors in the fields of success and personal growth. The Master Key System was first published in 1912 as a 24-week correspondence course before being released in book form in 1916. In this remarkable work, Haanel presents a systematic philosophy for understanding the power of the mind and applying universal principles to everyday life, offering valuable insights into self-improvement, success, prosperity, and healing. So let's dive in. The Master Key System by Charles F. Haanel, summarized and presented by Wisdom Matrix 1111. Haanel begins with the idea that everything in the visible world has its origin in the invisible world of thought. Before a building is constructed, a scientific discovery is made, or a masterpiece is created, it first exists as an idea in someone's mind. Every invention, achievement and transformation begins as a mental image before taking physical form. This is not merely a coincidence, but a universal principle. Every effect has a cause, and the primary cause of human achievement is thought. Behind all life and creation is an infinite and intelligent power that operates throughout the universe. Rather than being separate from humanity, this universal mind is the source from which individual intelligence is derived. Every person has the ability to draw upon this infinite source through the power of the mind. The more we understand and live in harmony with these universal laws, the more consciously we participate in the creative process of life. To explain how this process works, Haanel distinguishes between the conscious and subconscious mind. The conscious mind is the reasoning and choosing faculty. It observes, evaluates, forms judgments, and decides which thoughts to accept. The subconscious mind, by contrast, does not question or criticize what it receives. It accepts the dominant impressions placed upon it by the conscious mind and works continuously to express them in our habits, actions, circumstances, and experiences. Our repeated thoughts are far more influential than passing ideas. A single thought may come and go without consequence, but thoughts that are consistently entertained gradually take root in the subconscious mind. Once established there, they influence our attitudes, decisions, behavior, and the direction of our lives. In this sense, the conditions we experience outwardly often reflect patterns that have first been established inwardly. Therefore, the quality of our thinking is of the utmost importance. Negative thoughts generate corresponding emotions such as fear, doubt, resentment, and confusion. These emotional states tend to produce limitation because they fill the mind with disorder. Constructive thoughts, on the other hand, foster clarity, inner peace, wisdom, and creative action. By consciously choosing what we allow to take root in the mind, we begin changing the causes from which future results arise. But thought alone is not enough. Simply wishing for different circumstances while allowing the mind to remain undisciplined is unlikely to produce the desired results. The true power of thought depends upon our ability to direct it deliberately rather than allowing it to wander aimlessly. So if thought is the beginning of every creation, then directing thought through concentration becomes one of the most valuable skills we can develop. Most people don't consciously govern their own minds. Their attention is constantly pulled from one idea to another by external circumstances, emotions, and habits. Therefore, much of their mental energy is scattered rather than focused. Haanel regarded concentration as one of the greatest sources of personal power because a focused mind gathers strength, while a distracted mind dissipates its strength. Concentration is the ability to deliberately hold the mind upon a chosen idea without allowing it to wander. Just as sunlight becomes far more powerful when concentrated through a magnifying glass, our mental energy becomes more effective when directed toward a single purpose. Developing this ability requires practice. One way to cultivate it is by spending time each day in quiet reflection, temporarily withdrawing attention from the outside world. In stillness, the mind becomes calmer, clearer, and more receptive. In stillness, we learn to observe our own thinking and to choose it more consciously rather than reacting automatically to every circumstance. The practice of concentration also develops self-control. True mastery is not about controlling other people or external events, but about governing our own thoughts, emotions, and reactions. When we allow negative thoughts and emotions to dominate the mind, they gradually influence our decisions and behavior. But as we strengthen our ability to concentrate, we become less controlled by circumstances and more guided by conscious choice. Haanel also emphasizes the importance of mental clarity. A vague desire produces vague results, while a definite purpose gives the mind something meaningful to work toward. By learning to think clearly, intentionally, and consistently, we gradually replace uncertainty with direction. Our thoughts become less scattered, our decisions become more purposeful, and our actions begin to reflect the goals we truly wish to achieve. Mental development is not a one-time effort, but an ongoing discipline. The mind becomes stronger through regular use, just as the body becomes stronger through consistent training. Every moment spent cultivating concentration, self-control, and clear thinking increases our ability to consciously shape the course of our lives. Once the mind has learned to concentrate, it's ready for a higher purpose. Haanel explains that concentration gives the mind stability, but imagination gives it direction. It's through imagination that ideas are formed, possibilities are explored, and the unseen gradually becomes the blueprint for what may later appear in the outer world. Every human creation begins twice, first as a mental conception, and only afterward as a physical reality. Before an architect draws a plan or an inventor builds a new device, the completed work already exists in the imagination. Likewise, we should first form a clear and definite picture of the conditions we wish to bring into our lives. The clearer the image becomes, the more firmly it impresses itself upon the subconscious mind. Remember, a mental picture gains its greatest influence when it is accompanied by confidence and expectation. Doubt weakens the impression, while faith strengthens it. Calm certainty replaces anxiety about results, trusting that every cause set in motion through right thinking will, in time, produce its corresponding effect. Therefore, focus on what you truly desire, rather than on what you fear or want to avoid. The mind naturally develops in the direction of its dominant thoughts. When attention is continually fixed upon limitation, the mind becomes occupied with limitation. When it's consistently directed toward growth and constructive ideals, those patterns gradually become established within the subconscious and begin influencing both our attitudes and actions. But be careful not to confuse imagination with idle daydreaming. Imagination is not an escape from reality, but a creative faculty that must be guided by intelligence, purpose, and disciplined thought. A clear mental image becomes effective only when it inspires corresponding action and is sustained through consistency rather than momentary enthusiasm. In Haanel's view, imagination is one of humanity's greatest creative gifts because it allows us to move beyond present circumstances and conceive of something better. It enables us to recognize possibilities before they become visible and to begin shaping the inner causes that eventually give rise to outward change. As these inner patterns become more firmly established, they influence not only what we seek to accomplish, but also the kind of person we are becoming. This naturally leads to another of Haanel's central teachings, which is that true progress is measured not only by external achievements, but by the degree to which our thoughts, character, and actions come into harmony with the universal laws that govern life. He explains that the mind doesn't operate independently of the laws that govern the universe. Human thought is powerful, but its greatest power is realized when it works in harmony with those universal laws rather than in opposition to them. The more closely we align ourselves with these laws, the more naturally our lives express order, growth, and constructive results. Among the universal laws Haanel emphasizes is the law of cause and effect. Nothing happens without a cause. Every action, every habit, and every recurring condition begins with something that sets it into motion. Thought is the starting point of our choices and behavior. As we change the causes within the mind, the effects we experience in life gradually begin to change as well. Therefore, direct your attention toward the conditions you wish to create, rather than becoming absorbed in the circumstances you hope to escape. Living in harmony with universal laws requires harmony within ourselves. Destructive mental states such as fear, resentment, jealousy, and chronic worry disturb the natural balance of the mind. When allowed to persist, these mental states cloud judgment, disrupt clear thinking, and influence our actions in unproductive ways. By replacing them with constructive patterns of thought such as gratitude, patience, goodwill, and compassion, we create a healthy mental environment from which wiser decisions and better actions can arise. This inner harmony is inseparable from character. Integrity, self-control, perseverance, fairness, and a sincere desire to contribute to others are not simply admirable traits. They are expressions of a mind living in harmony with universal laws. As character develops, it naturally influences our relationships, our opportunities, and the confidence others place in us. Genuine success is rooted in these inner qualities, from which outward achievements such as prosperity, position, and recognition may naturally arise. This perspective also changes the way we view obstacles. Challenges are no longer seen as something working against us, but as opportunities to strengthen discipline, develop wisdom, and apply the principles we have been learning. Every experience becomes part of our education, revealing where our thinking remains limited and where greater understanding can be gained. Remember, true harmony is an ongoing practice rather than a final destination. It's expressed through the thoughts we repeatedly choose, the attitudes we consistently maintain, and the character we gradually build over time. As these inner qualities become established, they begin shaping not only how we respond to life, but also the opportunities we recognize and the results we're prepared to receive. When the inner causes become more constructive, the outer results begin to reflect that change. Prosperity and success are not isolated goals, but natural expressions of an ordered mind and disciplined character. Lasting achievement begins not with external circumstances, but with the habits of thought that gradually shape our decisions, actions, and results. This principle extends beyond material success to encompass health and healing. Haanel also explains that our habitual patterns of thought impress themselves upon the subconscious mind, which continually governs many of the body's natural functions and works continuously to maintain the body's natural balance. When the mind becomes habitually occupied with destructive patterns of thought, that harmony may be disturbed. By cultivating a more constructive state of mind, we cooperate more harmoniously with the natural intelligence that sustains and restores the body. A healthy mental attitude is itself a powerful influence in the healing process. The same principles also apply to financial success. Opportunities are more readily recognized by a prepared and disciplined mind, and lasting success is built through clear thinking, sound judgment, constructive action, and persistence rather than mental images alone. These qualities enable us to develop our abilities, use our talents wisely, and create greater value through our work. Therefore, wealth is not merely the accumulation of money, but the natural result of that process. Another principle woven throughout Haanel's teaching is the law of attraction, expressed through the idea that like attracts like in the mental world. The thoughts we habitually entertain tend to attract people, opportunities, and circumstances that correspond with our dominant patterns of thought. It is therefore important to dwell upon the conditions we wish to create, rather than on those we wish to avoid. As constructive patterns of thought become firmly established, they gradually shape both our character and the direction of our lives in harmony with the law of attraction. Throughout the Master Key system, each part concludes with a practical mental exercise, reminding us that knowledge, however inspiring, produces little change unless it becomes part of our everyday lives. These consistent daily mental exercises, emphasized throughout the book, spending time in silence, strengthening concentration, observing our thinking, and impressing constructive ideas upon the subconscious mind, gradually develop greater clarity, purpose, and self-mastery. The central message of the Master Key system is both simple and demanding. Beneath its discussions of thought, concentration, imagination, character, health, prosperity, and success lies a unifying principle. Meaningful changes in life begin with the changes we make within ourselves. The true Master Key is not a hidden secret or a shortcut to instant success, but the ability to consciously direct our own minds and live in harmony with universal laws. Meaningful transformation rarely happens overnight. It grows through the consistent application of constructive thought, self-discipline, and deliberate action, gradually shaping our character, decisions, relationships, and the conditions we create around us. Ultimately, the Master Key system presents the mind as a powerful creative force and reminds us that by learning to govern our thoughts and apply these principles in daily life, we become more conscious participants in shaping the direction of our own experience of reality. I hope you found the wisdom from the Master Key system by Charles F. Haanel valuable. Thank you for tuning in to Wisdom Matrix 1111. Please help support the channel by hitting the subscribe button and liking the video. Keep mastering your mind and creating your life from within, one thought at a time. Peace.